Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. In a prior episode, I told you I got sent back to the SHU because this freaking rat-ass white boy named Webb that came from Herlong. Now, I don't know if this is accurate, but just assessing all the things now, and from what I heard from a guy that came from Lompoc, FCI, that beat up this particular Webb, I'm just gonna take an educated guess and accuse that motherfucker of one that dropped a kite on me, to have these SIS come in my cell, search my cell, find 2 hypodermic needles, and send me to the SHU. Now at this time in the SHU, they're trying to fill up the SMUD program in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. So if you have if you have so many shot within the last 12 months, you're gonna automatically go to the Lewisburg program. I think it's Special Monitoring Unit, or somebody told me the name, but I just know it as SMU. Now, at this time, as soon as I come in, the lieutenant is like, yeah, you're on your way to the fucking SMU. Because through my interaction with the COs, there's always been a respect level. I never really have any issues with any of the staff members in there. But the lieutenants and all the higher ups, they don't really like me because they see that I'm not sitting in my cell miserable. I really don't understand their mentality, but they like to see us miserable and at each other's throat. And they don't really like me being on the yard doing everything and anything I want to do. I just do my time. I'm respectful to everybody, but to their eyes, I'm having too much fun in prison. So the first chance they get, they want to bust my bubble. And they know that I've been having it good. They know that I have it good over here in Atwater. So this punk-ass lieutenant named Morgan, a little beady eye, bald head, kind of reddish hair, if he had any hair left, little bitch named Morgan, comes to my door, and he was like, yeah, your ass is going to the SMU. Your ass is going to the SMU. And I don't even know this motherfucker. I never had any interaction with him, never said a word to him, but for some reason, he's got a hard-on for me and is adamant about trying to send me to the SMU program. When you're in the SHU once a week, they do their rounds where the warden comes through, the AW comes through, the captain and the medical and all that stuff. They all walk around the SHU to each cell. So if you have any questions or grievance or whatever, you can express them and they'll pretend to listen and move on and so forth. Once a week on a set day, is usually Wednesday, they'll come through the SHU and you can, whatever, air out any issues or whatever you got. But for me, most of the time, it's a waste of time. I'm never on the door. I know I'm in the SHU, so I'm going to lay it down. But when they come through, after I heard what this Lieutenant Morgan was trying to tell me, I hit up the captain. I asked the captain, I said, hey, man, what's up, man? I haven't had a shot in, like 8-9 months. And he was like, well, if you get convicted of this, I got to ship you off to the SMU program. But if you don't, I'll let you back on the compound. So when I heard that, like I said, they found the 2 needles in a book binder. I had a big ass Khmer book, being Cambodian. It was a book of all the monuments and arts that's in Cambodia. It's a freaking big book. It's about almost 1.5 feet in diameter. So it was like this, and it was a hardback. So I had a buddy of mine, a Sereno named Stomper, that was upstairs. He was already getting sent to the SMU program. So I wrote him a kite. I said, hey, man, they trying to send me to the SMU. This is what they found in the cell. I said, I'm going to send them up there to talk to you. Because when they came and interviewed me, I denied the book. I said, man, this is a book. I don't know, people be borrowing my book and putting the book back in my cell. And I don't know I don't use needles. So I don't know why I would even have one, you know? So I hit up Stomper about what happened. And Stomper said, man, when the counselor comes and interview you, send them upstairs and I'll let them know that was my book that I had left in your cell. Sometimes these things work and sometimes not. But when you're in there, you got to try to figure out how to take advantage of the situation or the system and play it the best to your ability, because you don't want to continually just get convicted of shit that you don't have to. You know, like I told you in the prior video, yeah, that shit was mine, but I'm not going to admit to that. But I'm not going to, at the same time, go and tell them, hey, that wasn't mine, that belonged to somebody else. So my course of action was I hit up the homie Stomper and ask him for a favor, and he in return is going to confess to the crime, right? So they send this, so the counselor I had at this time, his name was Coggins, cold-blooded dumbass. I sent him up there to go talk to Stomper, and he did whatever. I don't know what the conversation is, but when I go to the DHO, which is the disciplinary hearing officer, she reads a statement that Coggins wrote, and all he put down was, yes, I spoke to whatever Stomper's real name was. But that's it. He never wrote down what Stomper said. So I can't use that. So I told him, hey, look, you know what? I want to postpone my hearing, and I want to ask for a staff rep. And the person I asked for a staff rep was another counselor named Lyons. And like I tell you, there's a lot of piece of shit COs in there that doesn't understand the environment, that are disrespectful. But Mr. Lyons, all the interactions I ever had with him, he's always been one of those persons that's done their job and try to help you out with whatever it is that you need. So I have respect for him, and I believe that I built a rapport with him where now that I need him, that maybe he can help me out. So I got my hearing postponed, but postponing my hearing ended up getting me stuck in the SHU for about 6 months. Now at this time, I'm in there with my homeboy Brian Chan. He's out of New York, a Green Dragon out of New York. You know, him and his co-defendants, they're in there for racketeering, murder, robbery, extortion. The case that took them down was, you know, in New York at that time in the 90s or the 80s or however, you know, they got locked up in the early 90s. So however long they were out there before they got locked up, all the territory in Chinatown was divided between the different families. Green Dragon, Flying Dragon, the BTK. The BTKs are Vietnamese. And I don't know all the different gangs out there in New York as far as the Asians are concerned. But I know that every block, every street is divvied up between these different groups. And they have full rights to whoever lives in their territory that they claim. So their case was they were trying to extort all these different businesses that was in their territory. They extorted them for them to pay rent, pay protection fees. And they went to a grocery store to collect on one of the people that was in their block, in their territory. And the owners of that business refused. So one of them blew both their brains out. And that's how they end up in prison. Murder, robbery, extortion, racketeering. So me and him are cellies, and he shares stories with me about, you know, stuff that happened things that they've done and went through, you know, while they're out on the streets, that I'm not really privy to share with you at this time. But, you know, I wreck with everybody. I'm Asian. I'm Asian. You know, we're classified as others, Asian Islanders. So I don't have any beef with the blacks, whites, Mexicans, or anybody else in there unless it's on a personal level. But on a racial level or on a gang level, I don't qualify within their beef or within their discrimination or hatred. So when I go to wreck, I go wreck with anybody. I wreck with the Serranos. I go wreck with the blacks, the Crips, the Bay Area, GD, whoever. I wreck with everybody. So, and I even wreck in the cage with the whites. So I go in, sometimes they put me in the cage with the white boys. And whatever, I wreck, I talk to them or whatever. But then on this particular time, I'm in the big cage I'm in the cage already. Me and Brian were in the cage already. And these two white boys that they brought out to put in the rec cage with me, when they got to the rec cage, the CEO asked them, you cool to go in? They asked me, hey, these guys cool to wreck with you? I said, yeah, come on in. And then they asked the two white boys if they're cool to wreck with me. And they put their head down, they shook their head. You know, when they did that, I got offended. Like, we just wrecked in the same cage the last time we was out here. So they take the white boys out into the front cage, which is a smaller cage. I'm in a cage with next to, you know, 4 other white boys. And the CEO comes back down. I forgot his name, but he comes and pulls me up to the bar and he said, hey, man, can you switch cage with the white boys up front? They want to wreck next to their homies so they can talk. I'm like, why don't you just put them in here? I don't give a fuck if they're in here. They're like, well, they don't want to come in the cage with you. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Because we were just in the cage a couple weeks prior, you know, the last time we came out and through all the other times that we came out, whenever they pulled me out with the white boys or whatever. I never refused a cage to go into a cage with anybody, and no one's ever refused to come into a cage with me. So when this happened, yeah, I got offended. So I'm like, man, fuck them. Let them stay up there. I don't give a fuck about that shit. But my homie Brian, he was like, hey, man, let's just let them have the cage so they can kick it with their homie. Because, you know, at the time that when I'm in the SHU, I'm always usually the only one in the SHU. Sometimes there might be one other homie with me in there, but usually I'm always in the SHU. And I'm always by myself in the SHU. So Brian's like, man, just let them go wreck. Let's just switch cage and let them wreck next to their homie. So I conceded. You know, I got respect for the homie and whatever. So we switched cage. But I'm in my feelings. I'm like, man, fuck them bitch motherfuckers. I mean, because, you know, when they refuse to come into my cage or be in the cage with me, I'm like, man, ain't nothing wrong with me. So why the fuck wouldn't you want to wreck with me? You know, so when they refuse the cage, they're telling me there's something wrong with me. So anyway, we just let it go. And then the next time we came out, you know, the white boys, they get all the cages together or whatever. And me and Brian, a couple Mexicans in the next cage to them. Well, one of the white boys that refused the cage with me the other day comes and try to talk to me. He's like, hey, Mason, man, you know what I mean? I want to apologize. Ain't got nothing to do with you. But, you know, me, I'm not really trying to hear it. You know, but they had this other dude who was a white separatist. You know, and then they had a couple other neo-Nazi gang members or whatever. I know all these motherfuckers. They had no problem asking me to borrow money from me on the yard. They've had no problem coming copying things from me on the yard. You know, when they need something, they don't have no problem asking me. But now that we're back in the SHU, These bitch motherfuckers want to pull this white supremacist separatist shit, and these other dude boy white boys around him are scared, so they don't want to buck the politics. So he was like, hey man, you know, I live in 5A. I sit and eat and watch TV with your homie Dennis and Joel and stuff. Man, I ain't got no issue with you guys, but you know, I'm white. I gotta follow the politics, and they don't want us wrecking in the cage with other races. And my response is like, man, you're lame. I say, don't come and talk to me about you sitting there eating, drinking with my homeboy, and then you want to come over here and refuse to fucking wreck cage with me. That just shows me you're a fucking dude boy. You know, when I get in my feelings, I don't really care about what comes out of my mouth because you offended me. So you're telling me when you're on the compound, you kick and eat with my homeboys, but now we're in the SHU, and because this other fucking piece of shit, racist piece of shit, is telling you you can't be in a rec cage with another race, you're gonna submit and bow down and not be your own fucking man. Well, if you're not a fucking man, I ain't got no time talking to you. I fuck with men. I don't fuck with little weenies, you know? I didn't say everything like that I just expressed here, but those were my thoughts at the time. But I just told him, man, I'm cool. I don't give a fuck about that shit. You just tell me you a fake ass dude, you know? So anyway, there's this other white boy named Coons. Now Coon, he's well respected. I was in Bloody Beaumont with him before I got to Atwater. We all got shipped to Atwater together. And when he's on the compound, he was number 2 on the compound as far as the hierarchy goes for the independent white boys. You know, anybody that know Coon, know he goes hard and he's feared and respected on the compound. Well, he's been in the SHU for the last 2 or 3 months, and he's the orderly. They're just gonna stick it. He goes home in about 6 months, but they're just gonna leave him in the SHU until he goes home. Well, he sees this. He sees what's going on. And me and Coon, we've been friends since we met. So when Brian beats his case, he gets sent back out to the compound. So now I'm in a cell by myself. Well, the next day, I get a kite from Coon. And Coon sends me a kite. He's like, hey, what's up, Mesa, man? I know you're in the cell by yourself. You probably want to be in the cell by yourself. But if you don't mind, can I be your cellie? He's a white boy. He's a well-respected white boy. And me, I'm not thinking about what's going on with him in his head or any politics or anything. I just know that's my friend. I ain't got no problem having one of my friends be cellie with me regardless of their race. So, of course, I said, yeah, man, whatever you want to do, homie. So that evening, after dinner, they move him in my cell. So when they move him in my cell, the next day we go out to rec. I got a white boy in my cell now. That's my cellie. Was number 2 on the yard. That's well respected, and a bad motherfucker. But you know me, I don't really think about the politics or all the different behind the scenes stuff that's going on. So when we go out to rec, me and Coons in a rec cage together. We're cellies, so we're in a rec cage together. So the white boys, they brought out, they're all white. So, I'm on a tier with a bunch of white boys, so they wreck us with the white boys, especially now because Coon's a white boy. So they put us in the cage over there, and while the white boys come and see that Coon's my cellie. And Coon's not one of them dudes that anybody else can tell him what he can and can't do. Still, the white boys refuse to come into the cage with me and Coon, but they put us in the cage. They put him in the cage next to us. So I hear Coon on the fence talking to this tall dude that's supposed to be a white separatist that, for real, to me, he's just a junkie, a dope fiend, because I'm serving his ass out in the compound. He had no problem copping from me, but now that we're back in the SHU, I'm too brown for him. or whatever. So I hear them on the fence, and Coon was like, and he was explaining to Coon, like, hey, man, Coon, man, we don't got nothing against Mesa. We know he's a good dude. We know he's your friend. I'm just a separatist, and I believe that we should separate, you know, whatever a separatist beliefs is, you know, but it ain't got nothing against him. It's just the way you know, whatever he was playing. And Coon was telling, yeah, I understand that, and I respect that, but this is my friend. This is a good dude, and I'm just letting you know the way you guys went about it wasn't cool, you know. So this shit got resolved or whatever, and I eventually beat my shot. I had Counselor Lyons come and speak in my behalf. And like I said, we didn't really get the statement from Stomper the way we would it because Coggins, the counselor before that interviewed him, didn't write shit down. But these staff members, they're all friends with each other. And Lyons like, hey, man, when I was a counselor in his block, he's never given me any problems. And, you know, speaking in my behalf. And a DHO lady, she didn't really like it that one of her staff members was willing to represent me. But she turned around and she's like, you know what? She picked up my shot. She ripped it up. Said, this is your one and only chance. When the next time you come back here, I don't want to hear about no fucking staff rep. Your ass is gone. So this is on a Tuesday, or this is on a Wednesday, and the next day is kick out. So I'm like, so I'm gonna be on the kick out list tomorrow. And again, this little bitch ass Lieutenant Morgan was in there at the one. I don't even know what the hell the lieutenant is sitting in my DHO hearing anyway. The DHO hearing is just between me and the disciplinary officer. But for some reason, this motherfucker, Morgan, wants to sit in on the hearing. And when I asked the DHO, say, hey, so I'm going to be on the kick-out list tomorrow? He's like, oh, no. He interjects, no, you're going to the smooth. I said, how the fuck am I going to the smooth? The captain told me if I beat the shot, I get put back on the compound. Oh, no, we're going to see about this. Your ass is going to the smooth. Again, I've never had any interaction with this dude. Don't know him from a grain of rice, or however you say it, from Adam. But he wanted to put me in the program so freaking bad. But anyway, long story short, fuck him. The next day, I got kicked out and went back out on the compound. Welcome to the USP.